Hello and welcome back to work. It's Monday. I'm technically off work. I've been off for 4 days now to kind of catch up on things at home. Plus, my son is home from college, and I figured I would hang out with him and work on some of my future presentations. Well, as a recap for anyone that's new to the stream or new to the video series, we're working on a contact application, which is listed here in the contacts. Plus, I will post it in the stream chat. You'll be able to get pretty much the entire flow of what we've been working on from beginning to end. We started off with introducing some IDEs, and then we're essentially building an application from scratch. So I did file new and went with it. We focused on the model development at first, added a business layer, manager layer, then we tied in a database for it. We then added unit test and a poor person's version of dependency injection. We'll add a better one today or tomorrow. Then we added the data layer and some mapping classes. And then we used AutoMapper to kind of tie them together. Going forward, we will probably use a different database backend outside of SQLite. SQLite works well on the laptop because it works for either Mac or Linux or Windows. And right now, most of the development I've been doing is on a Mac laptop. But when we push it live, we'll probably push it out to Azure and use a SQL backend or even maybe a document database. We'll probably play around with both. But in the last episode, Thursday, we focused on building out the API. We added get contacts, get contact, and save contact, and made sure they all worked. Today we're going to focus on implementing the delete contact, search contact. Then we'll update the save contact to return the saved contact. Right now the contact manager is returning a true or false, but when we're working with the API, it makes it a little bit challenging to see the actual record that was created to allow hyperlinks back to it. We might actually start with that one first. And then if we have time at the end, we will wire up the ASP.NET Core dependency injection to the contact manager and all the other dependencies. So let's take a look at the application. If you're not new to the stream, you might notice a new extra stuff folder. I got tired of using two different IDEs to edit the outline and the README text, as well as I moved the sample request to its own file so that you can play around with it if you want on your own. Because when you use the scratches and consoles by default, it adds that to the directory on your local machine and not within the repository directory. So this kind of cleans it up a little bit. So our last look, we took a look at the API and the contacts controller. Look at that, we have a get contacts, which returns all contacts, a get contact, which only returns the specified contact, and then a save contact, which returns the contact. So as a refresher, if we actually call this, we get an action result. The action result will return a link where you can actually view the fully created contact, as opposed to any of the two methods above. This will return a list of contacts. This will return a single contact. This method will actually return the HTTP status code of 201, I believe, which is created. and then a hyperlink to the actual method, which is essentially this get contact. However, since we are not returning the actual contact, we're returning a Boolean value, this ID field here comes out as 0 because it's an integer. So we are going to want to change that to get a more accurate API viewpoint. We can actually return the ID of the created record and not the whole contact. I like to return the whole contact just so you don't have to go back and requery the database. So let's go and change that. That's going to require a little bit of extra work because the signature is a Boolean for save contact. So all these signatures are controlled inside of our interfaces. So we have the interface of iContact repository. So this we are going to have to change. Oh, didn't want to do that one. Hit the wrong button. Control RS. Maybe it's not that shortcut. Let's do refactor, change signature, and we are going to return actually we can just return a contact here and make sure we return the right one so it knows. Now you'll notice we're going to get a couple of reds here. We'll fix all the reds. Let's make sure this returns the right model. So let's do change signature again to save contact, refactor. You can do this also in Visual Studio. It's I think it's control period to do refactor for it. And let's change this to contact. Now we have to actually change the implementation. So let's go here and we get a red squiggly because this is highlighted. So we are adding the DB context here saying, okay, save this record. Once the record is saved, we want to check to see if the record was successfully saved. If it was, we're just going to get the contact ID from it and modify it as opposed to remapping. So let's do, oops, sorry about that, hit the wrong keystroke combination. So we're going to do was saved here equals underscore contact context dot save changes doesn't equal 0. Actually, we wanted to, yeah, doesn't equal 0, which means the records were changed. If was saved, we are going to then set contact dot contact ID equal to db contact dot contact ID. Good thing is, any framework returns the or updates the primary key. In this case, it's contact ID with the value from the database. So it automatically does the save, gets the primary key, and updates the record that we just did. So now we have to update the model. I could do a mapping of it back and forth, but this is the only field that changed. So we are going to just do that update. If you had any other stored procedures or any functions that did it like an updated last date and time or when updated, you'd probably want to do the mapping. And then here we are going to return the contact, else we are going to return null. This means that we failed. What are you wanting to do? I don't like that invert if. this is essentially saying that if it wasn't saved, return quickly, otherwise do this. I like to, I personally like this. It's a little bit clearer to tell you what the intent is. And then all else fails, we get down here, we're returning a null. So that works now. Now we have to go back up to the data layer. Luckily, the repository implements this, so there was no extra work here. However, our manager class needs to be updated. So let's go to our manager class. Our manager class, are you implementing anything? No, the contact manager doesn't implement anything. So we're going to have to implement something here ultimately so that we can inject the contact manager across the board. That was a misstep on our part. So where is our save contact? So this has to be a contact. After we do all the validation error, we are going to return a contact. Now our controller is broken because we have this var contact. So we're changing the name of this because the contact is being passed in and we want to save that. We're not using any references, so it's going to return back an existing or a new contact record. So here we are going to do if not equals to null, return back a new contact. So all that should work. Now let's take a look at the contact test, because we have two failed test cases here. This one is failing because we are expecting a return a true, which we don't want. We want it to return the actual contact. And then the other one should be, no, the others won't return. So here we wanted to return this contact. So let's move this contact record up here. And we are going to change this for contact ID equals 0. That indicates that we want to, actually it doesn't matter what we do here. Here we want it to return a contact. Now we're saying as long as you get any contact, return back the same contact. So now we want to assert is assert not null. Let's rename this to saved contact. And then check that it's not null, or not null, not empty. And then we could check all the other properties if we want. But that's kind of pointless because that's just validating mock. This should be saved contact equals, oh, I had it right the first time. save contact ID, and this should just be contact. Now if I Control Shift build it, everything should build now. There's no more red squiggly lines that I can see. Hey, what's up, Mike? I don't have any notifications on my other computer. I gotta figure out how that is doing. Thanks for joining. Who else is here with us? I muted my Alexa, but she still sent notifications. So for those who are just joining, we are working on updating our contact application and kind of implementing the rest of the API. Now that everything built successfully, let's go and run our unit test to make sure that the app is still working as intended. So I'm going to run the selected unit test. Hopefully everything listed as successful. Everything is successful, so we're able to actually do it. Now let's go and open up the database. Window 3, Control Window 3. I keep hitting the wrong shortcut. It's Control Window 3 and not Shift Window 3, which does a snapshot or a screenshot. So I'm going to have like 3 or 4 screenshots. So here we should see we have record 34, the last one, Peter, Hector, Richie. So we go through and look at our HTTP requests. I'm going to run this post here, and it should add a new record to the wife's, with the wife as a contact, and then we'll get a valid redirect response coming back. So let's see if I have to run the localhost. I didn't run the localhost, so let me run that first. Nice. First time I actually got an alert. Welcome new follower, which I totally missed who it was. It looks like it's JoeG Nerd, I'm guessing. Thank you. It's the first time that's ever went off in my stream. Usually people follow before and after. Welcome. Thanks for the follow. So this is just the default, which runs all the latest contacts, and we can see Peter, Hector, Richie is the last one at 34. So let's go back and run this local test. Hit run. Now you notice I get the HTTP 201 that was created, but as the last script was, because we have the what's called the create action on the controller, we are doing the created at, it returns back an additional HTTP header, which indicates that you can find all the details for this at contacts 35. So if I click on this, it's going to open up in Chrome on my machine, since Chrome's the default browser, with that additional info. So this is everything we created for this particular record. And if I refresh this page, we'll see the latest is 35 with Deidre and Wadagno. And that was all done through this test post here. So now we got the create done. Let's shrink you down a little bit, and I probably don't need you. Now we got the get contacts, the get contact, the save contact working. Next up, if we look at our list, so we checked off that one. Now we're going to implement delete contact. So delete contact works pretty similar to the others. We're going to implement an HTTP delete and then return a action result, I believe. And this is just going to be a Boolean because the delete only does a Boolean. Delete contact. And then it returns a int of contact ID. And I don't want a P in there. So let's go and check out what I need to do. And again, we're going to copy and paste this. Once we add the dependency injection, this will be a lot cleaner. And then we are going to do a var was deleted equals contact manager dot delete contact, and then we are going to specify the contact ID. But just like the get, we have to add in the parameter to tell it the ID. So I'm going to rename this one to ID just to be consistent. And now we need to return was deleted. Now, if we go back to here, let's add a delete option. For those of you that are new, I'm using the HTTP request part, which is built into JetBrains Writer. In some cases, you can use Postman to try it out. You can write an integration test. But this is going to make the call out to the service, execute it, and then show the responses in here. So this, I need to run a delete command, and then I need to pass it in the URL for it. And then this is only going to work once I actually have a real contact. So I could add one and then delete one, but since I noticed I have this existing delete here, I'm just going to say delete that user. And I think this is all I need. I will have to restart the app since I just added that method. So let's go and restart the web server. Make sure I have a 35. I still have a 35. Now, if I got the syntax right, which I think all I need to do is just call a delete, we should remove 35. If I looked, I get a runtime error. Yay, what did I miss? The instance entity type contact cannot be tracked because another instance with the same key value for contact ID. Huh. What did I do? I wonder if it's because I got the signature wrong for it. I did that the first time I created it. Let me double check the syntax. We know the delete works. We ran the unit test to make sure. So let's just check the API syntax. Luckily, I have another sample project that I wrote that does this. So let's go to this API controller and look at the delete. Just an HTTP delete. And I want to return a, oh, I got to return a no content. So return the wrong thing, which is why this failed. So if I do was deleted, we'll return a not found. So if I look, the actual record itself was probably deleted. I just returned the wrong element from, oh, she wasn't deleted. I returned the wrong record back. So HTTP delete ID turn back ID, delete ID. Let's double check it. Restart, stop and rerun. Still got 35 here. Now I'm going to look. Let's go to HTTP request. Run the delete. I'm still getting exception. What am I getting an exception for? An instance of entity type contact cannot be tracked as another instance with same key value for ID. Huh. I look like I broke my delete function, which means my unit tests are not great. That's because unit tests are really mocking it. Let's go back and take a look at the manager to make sure nothing is broken in the manager. Contact manager. If you're wondering what shortcuts I'm looking, you can look down in the lower left-hand corner. The shortcut pops up on the screen, what I'm using. I try to remember my best to remind myself to speak what they are, but sometimes I forget. So I called the delete, got a contact. We're deleting the contact, saying if the contact is not null, I want to return the deleted contact. Well, all else fails, let's do a breakpoint and see what I happen to do. So I'm going to stop this because we want to run it in debug mode. Worked using .NET for a couple of years now. I'm working with Node, React, but I'd like to get back into .NET. In your opinion, what should I read or learn to keep up to date? Back to .NET. Well, welcome back to .NET. What I found is you need to do need to keep a lot of technologies in mind. For a backend, .NET makes a great example or a great thing to follow. If you really want to keep up with it, outside of streaming, you can watch the videos from Bill. They introduced a lot of new topics, but for the most part, what I tend to do outside of watching people stream is go to docs.microsoft.com. Docs, man, my typing skills are terrible today. And then you can keep up with any one of the topics here. Usually this .NET tab has everything you need to do to get started. The great thing about it is you can do it, you can start learning or getting refamiliarize yourself with .NET without even having anything installed on your machine. If you do this interactive quick start, or I believe there is a somewhere on here, it might be actually in the interactive, you can actually create it online and run .NET in the browser and get it. But these are some really good first starts. C# Corner website has a lot of good tutorials, as well as a lot of independent vendors. But this is a great first start, docs.microsoft.com. So now that I am running in debug mode, let's go back and institute that request. I'm doing a get contact to find it, mapping it out, returning it back. Okay, so that's good so far. Let me step over that. So now here I should have a contact if I got the code correctly. Ah, sorry, it's asynchronous, so now I'm stuck in an async hold of things. So I'm going to do step out of. I did step into. I want to step over. Yeah, I had the async stuff, so that is not going to work well. Let's go back and just finish it all, then put the right breakpoint in there. And we should be at 35 still. Let's go back and run this. I'm going to hit play. Now our contact is here. We look at the contact record. Should see ID 35. And I'm going to step over you. I'm going to step into you. So that is, I believe, this button here. Step into you to the data store. It's not null. Ah, you want to do that one. Now I'm doing all the mapping. So now we should tell it to remove this one, which is the actual DB contact, which is 35. Now let's go and step over. I believe this is where the exception is coming from. And this should be where it died. So it looks like the delete is not working because I am getting a copy of it and telling it to delete it without giving the delete to it. So let's take a look at that. Let's close some. I'm going to close all the windows but this. Actually, let's close all windows but this. Now, why did this not delete? Let's make sure I didn't do anything different. Public async, tell it to delete, delete by presentation, delete the ID. If I look at this and go to implementation, I get the presentation. And then I delete the presentation. I wonder if I didn't actually have a test for this. Let's see. I did have a test for it and it worked. Wonder if it's the async or not. Because this one is synchronous, so I wonder if I messed up something along that. So let's look at my contact manager. That was Control T, by the way, or Command T on a Mac. So this delete contact, go to definition. So if the contact is not null, map it out. Oh, this is probably failing because it is not tracking it. There's a new context here and it doesn't know anything about it. So I have to do a remove, or I think it's a detach here. There's an attach, remove. Problem is the context, because we're using DI it, any framework does not know that I pulled in that record, so it doesn't know how to delete it. So I have to tell it to delete it. Where is that? Let's look up how I do that. Entity, framework, core, delete. Let's see if this shows us what to do. Ah, there it is. Delete data in cascading scenario. Or disconnected scenario. This says all I need to do is just give it the ID and remove it. If core builds and executes delete statement in database for entities whose entity state is deleted. There is no difference in deleting an entity in a connected or disconnected state. Entity framework made it easy to delete an entity from the context, which in turn deletes the record using the following methods. dbcontext.remove. It looks like what I'm doing. Let me double check. Ah, wait, no, wait, that's different. Yeah, this is valid syntax. Context dot, in my case, contacts dot remove the student. The other way to do it is to do this. Oh, I messed that up. Dot. I'm going to break point here and see what it's complaining about. So let's debug this. Probably something really silly that I missed too. Contact ID 35. I wonder if it's because I have too much in it. Let's see what happens if I hit next. It's failing. It's not looking good. Why are you failing? Let me take a look at this. Context remove. What am I missing here? Or student, new contacts, remove. Student onto value students, remove range method. Data will be deleted from database on save change. Well, let's see what the error I'm getting is and Google the error. Oh boy. Given ASP web app, core database, an absolute simple action is throwing an exception. I made this over in fun to work with that exception, slightly better approach. Maybe I need to do a find. I probably need to do a find because what's happening here by doing get contact is getting a reference to it. So let's try this. Var contact equals context mapper dot contacts dot find. This should be contact ID, I think it is, and then delete contact. Oh, this wants the map version of it. Let's just do this. Since we don't want to map it, we are going to do an underscore context dot delete. Now this one should work. This one works with an existing contact that it has to find. This one is finding it, deleting it. So let's give that a shot. Shall we? Stop and rerun. That's good. Let's go back to our contact request. Run local. I thought for a second there it worked. I don't know if I got an error or not. Let's go and check the request. And that is under run. Huh, it still failed. So where am I getting that value? I'm getting it somewhere else. So let's stop. Contact manager, delete contact. Oh, because I'm tracking it here. Still calling the I can do this and see if that works. Delete contact, contact repository. So I'm not getting multiple copies of it. I'm just going to run this since we're not debugging it anymore. Now it's just trial and error. Typical .NET or typical development. Try it until it works. Yes, that worked. So I was able to delete it. I got the no content, which is 204, meaning it deleted. Now if I go back and check this, there should be no more 35, so just 34, and I can validate it. We see here we have 34. I want to go and delete Peter's record. Let's do 34. Run it. I get a 204. We deleted number 34. Go back and refresh, and 34 is gone. Oof. Some any framework mastery there. And by master, I mean lack thereof. So now we got the delete working. We got to get the search working, and we got 10 more minutes. That should be enough to get the search working in here. So where are we? We're in the contact manager. The contact manager should have a search feature, which we just call get contacts with first name and last name. So let's take a look at how we expose that. So we want to go to the contacts controller. Control T, contacts controller. Or let's do contacts controller. There we go. And we are going to add a search. There's two different ways to add in the searching. In this case, we are going to create an HTTP GET, and we are going to want to give it some parameters. So we are going to do here, I think this is the syntax. So we're going to do first name equals, or it helps if I put it in quotes. And first name equals first name, and last name equals, oops. Now, if I got the syntax correctly, that should return a list of, what is it, domain dot contacts. List of domain dot contacts. Get contacts, string first name, comma, string last name. And then we are going to, we got to create the manager. Create the manager, and then return contact manager dot get contacts, first name, comma, last name. Now, if I remember correctly in the manager, both of these are required. Let's just take a double check. First name, yeah, both first name and last name are required. So if we look at our requests, we are going to want to search for contacts. I don't know why I made both first and last name required. I probably just want to have at least one of the fields available, but again, we're just doing this. We're playing around for now. We can clean it up in another stream. Contacts, and then I have last name, first name equals Joseph, and last name equals Guadagno. If I run that, I think I get back one record. Well, when I restart it, we'll see. Oh, it's already running, so I can just do this. Localhost 5000. Contacts. Nope, it's not running. Restart it. Wow, that's a really big failure. Yep. Oh, and I broke .NET too. I got the wrong route template. So let's look that up. ASP.NET Core route template query string. So we look at this template and complex segments. Yeah. This is really complicated. Custom routes, don't want that. Don't need a transformer. Let's find a different search one. That one's massively complicated. Neat way to build a query string in ASP.NET Core. 5-way to build routing. Let's check this out. And Stack Overflow usually has an answer to everything. Yeah, it's default routes. Extending default routes we don't want to do. Using attributes, don't want to do. Building RESTful routes. Yeah, constraints, nope. That's the basics. Forgot from query. So if I remember the syntax correctly, I have to do, we'll come back to that. This should be from query and then I think I just call this search. And then let's go and change this to search. Now, if I got it right, this should work. One or more errors returned. Bad request. What did I do? I got the template name wrong. Let's go back to routing, API/symbols. I got that right. I type it wrong here. Get controllers. Oh, I probably don't want the / in there. Now let's rerun it. And let's go to you. Yes, there it goes. Got a 200 and got my 31st, 20. Wow, I got a lot of records with my name in it. Just to make sure it's not running multiple. Let's just do another search for contact. And then I think I have one left with the wife in it. Yep. And then there's one contact there. So cool. So we got the delete working eventually. We added the search contacts. And we got delete, we got search, and we got save yet. So it looks like tomorrow we'll be working on dependency injection, and then probably going to work on how we document our API. That's all I got for everyone today. Let's go and take a look at the ending stream. Got any questions? Feel free to reach out on social media, JoeG /YouTube for a copy of these videos. Thanks and have an awesome day.